Joe Louis has just won the heavyweight title at the United States Karate Nationals, and in front of 900 spectators, he is about to challenge Chuck Norris, who has been quietly watching from the crowd, to step into the ring and block his lead leg side kick, the same side kick that has won him his last 38 matches, the same side kick he is absolutely certain nobody on earth can block. And in 4 seconds, Chuck Norris is going to make him eat every word in front of every single person in that building. Chuck is sitting in row 9, 27 years old, 5 feet 10, 168 pounds, the current professional middleweight karate champion of America, tan slacks, navy polo shirt, brown leather loafers, no gi, no belt, a tournament program folded in his hand. He has driven 1,400 miles from Torrance, California to be here, and he is not registered to compete. He has come for one reason: to find out with his own eyes whether Joe Louis's sidekick can be answered. What no one in the building knows, except a handful of his closest students, is that for the past 6 weeks, every single night in his garage in Torrance, Chuck has been training one combination 10,000 times, a switch stance pivot to take his lead leg outside the path of the side kick, followed by a reverse roundhouse to the back of the kicker's planted thigh. No videotape, no partner most nights, just a heavy bag, a mirror, and the same combination thrown over and over until his lead leg knew the angle on its own. He has not entered a single tournament during those 6 weeks. He has not given a seminar. He has been preparing for exactly this night. The Sportatorium is a wrestling barn on Industrial Boulevard most weekends. Tonight it has been rented for karate. Tournament regulars from Houston and Oklahoma City, ranchers from North Texas who have never seen a karate match in their lives, cigarette smoke in the rafters, the smell of beer and sawdust. The lights are yellow and hot, and in the center of the ring stands Joe Louis, 23 years old, 6 feet, 195 pounds, a Marine, a Vietnam veteran. He earned his black belt in 7 months in Okinawa. His record this year is 56 wins and 2 losses. He has said it on television. He has said it in magazines. The kick cannot be blocked. Nobody has ever proved him wrong. And he has no idea that the quiet man in row 9 has spent 6 weeks figuring out how. At 8:19, Joe Louis is handed the microphone. This is customary. The grand champion gives a short winner's speech, thanks the promoter, congratulates the runner-up, gets his hand raised one more time, and walks back to the dressing room. Joe is famously cocky. He has never given a quiet winner's speech in his life. He scans the crowd from the center of the ring. His eyes move slowly across the bleachers. He stops at row 9. He smiles. He says, Chuck Norris is sitting right there in row 9. The heads in the front rows turn. The murmur starts at the bottom of the bleachers and rolls up to the back wall, like a wave hitting the back of the building. He says, everyone in this room knows my sidekick cannot be blocked. The ranchers in the back are not entirely sure what is happening yet, but they know something is, and they lean forward. He says, Chuck, come up here and prove me wrong. 30 seconds. One technique. If you can stand 30 seconds against my side kick without going down, I will retire it. Tonight. Right now. In front of all these people. The Sportatorium goes still. Skipper Mullins and Pat Burleson are standing at ringside. Both of them are quiet champions in their own right. Both of them have watched Chuck train the counter in private sessions throughout the fall. They look at each other. Pat Burleson shakes his head slowly. He knows what is about to happen. He is not sure Joe Louis does. Chuck does not stand up immediately. He sets his program down on the bleacher seat next to him. He looks at Joe Louis for a long moment. He has been in this world long enough to recognize when something has shifted. This is not a friendly exhibition. This is not a goodwill demonstration between two champions for a hometown crowd. This is a public bet made in front of 900 witnesses by a champion who genuinely believes his kick cannot be answered. Yeah, Chuck stands up. He walks down the bleacher steps. He walks slowly. He is not in a hurry. He has been waiting 6 weeks for someone to ask him this question. If you want to find out what happened next, make sure you are subscribed and comment below where you are watching from. There are 14 people in the sportatorium that night who understand exactly what is about to happen. The other 886 are about to see something they will not understand for years. Skipper Mullins is at ringside, arms folded, watching Joe Louis's lead leg. He has been Chuck's friend for 5 years. He has seen the counter drilled in a back room of a karate school in Long Beach in October. He knows the angle. He knows the timing. He has not told a soul. Pat Burleson is next to him. Pat has been Chuck's training partner on the counter for 6 weeks straight. He flew to Torrance twice this fall to take the kick at half speed so Chuck could refine his timing. He has the bruises on his thigh to prove it. Alan Steen, the promoter, is standing by the ring apron in a brown sport coat with a clipboard under his arm. He has known both men for years. He has just realized what kind of night this is about to be. A representative from June Ree's school in Washington is in row 3. He was sent here to scout the tournament for the upcoming nationals. He has been watching Joe Louis all night, taking notes on a small spiral pad. Roy Curbin is in row 6, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. He has seen Chuck drill up the technique at a regional clinic in November. 2 of Chuck's senior students from California are in the back row, having driven up with him in the same car. They have been told nothing about why they are here. They have begun to suspect. 8 more regional champions and instructors, all of them men who have seen Chuck throw the counter at least once in private, are scattered through the bleachers. Most of them are smart enough not to look at each other. 14 people. Everyone else in the building is about to be told a story by their own eyes that they will spend the rest of their lives trying to fit into what they thought they knew about Joe Louis. Chuck reaches the ring. He does not borrow a GI. He does not ask for hand wraps. He sits down on the edge of the ring apron. He unties his shoes. He pulls them off slowly, one at a time. He sets them aside, neat, the laces tucked inside. He pulls off his socks and rolls them into the shoes. He rolls up the cuffs of his slacks to mid-calf. He stands up. He walks barefoot onto the canvas. Joe Louis grins. He thinks this is bravado. He thinks Chuck is showboating to settle his nerves. He has no idea that Chuck is doing the opposite. Chuck is removing every advantage he can to make the result indisputable. The public address announcer reads it off in a confused voice. Exhibition demonstration, Joe Louis versus Chuck Norris. 30 seconds. No scoring. The sportatorium hushes. Ranchers in the back rows lean forward. A man in Section C stands up to see better, and the woman next to him pulls him back down. Pat Burleson uncrosses his arms. It is 8:22 in the evening when the referee, a Dallas regional named Mike Anderson, raises one hand between them and signals begin. Joe circles, left foot forward. He has not been studied like this in 3 years. He cannot read why Chuck is barefoot in street clothes. He cannot read why Chuck did not protest, did not ask for a GI, did not ask for a few minutes to warm up. He decides, the way he always decides, to lead with his signature. Set it up. Land it. End the bet early. Send the message to the room. Get back to the dressing room before the sweat from the heavyweight final has dried. The first second, Joe shifts his weight onto his right foot. His lead leg loads. His hip cocks back just slightly. The second, Chuck does not back up. Chuck does not raise his guard. He slides his front foot 1 inch to the outside of the center line. It is a small adjustment. The crowd does not see it. Skipper Mullins sees it. Pat Burleson sees it. They know what comes next. The third second. Joe's left leg lifts into the chambered position he has used to end 38 matches. The knee comes up. The foot loads behind it. His weight is now entirely on his right leg. His balance is committed forward. The fourth second is when the entire story happens. Joe's lead side kick fires forward at full extension. This is the kick the crowd came to see. 850 of them have watched this kick on television the same week as the Cowboys game, with Joe Louis demonstrating it in slow motion on a Saturday morning sports show. They expect Chuck to either block it, which has never worked, or to back away, which always means losing distance and losing the match. Chuck does neither. He pivots his lead leg 1 more inch to the outside. The switch stance counter he has thrown 10,000 times in the garage in Torrance. Joe's foot passes through the empty air where Chuck's ribs were a quarter second earlier. The audience does not understand what they have just seen, but the half second that follows is the whole story. Joe is balanced on his right leg. His left leg is fully extended in the follow-through of the kick. His planted right thigh is exposed. His weight is committed forward. He has no second technique. He has no contingency. The kick has never failed before. There has never been a need. Chuck's right leg is already rotating. The reverse roundhouse he has prepared for exactly this moment is already in motion. His shoulder is turning. His hip is opening. The heel of his right foot, driven by the rotation of his entire body, his hip, his shoulder, the full coiled torque of 168 pounds of trained athlete who has spent 6 weeks throwing this exact strike into a heavy bag in a California garage, comes around in a tight arc and catches Joe Louis on the back of the planted thigh, just above the knee, directly into the soft tissue behind the muscle. The sound is a flat, percussive crack that everyone in the front 3 rows hears clearly. Joe's right knee buckles. His left leg, still in the air from the side kick, drops awkwardly behind him. He catches himself on his hands. He is on one knee on the canvas. His head is down. His breathing is sharp through his nose. His left hand is splayed flat on the canvas. His right hand is clenched into a fist. The sportatorium goes silent. Not a partial silence, a full silence. 900 people not breathing. Mike Anderson, the referee, looks at the clock on the timekeeper's table. 4 seconds. The bet was 30. 26 seconds left on a clock that is no longer needed. A woman in row 4 lets out a single, sharp breath, almost a laugh, almost a sob. A boy of about 12 in the front row is sitting with his mouth open. A man in the back, wearing a cowboy hat, takes the hat off slowly and holds it against his chest, as if somebody had died. Nobody knows yet whether they should clap. Nobody is sure what they have just permission to feel. Chuck steps back. He does not celebrate. He does not raise his hands. He does not look at the crowd. He simply recovers his stance and waits. Joe Louis stays on one knee for 3 full seconds. His head stays down. His breathing slows. He is not hurt in any serious way. The strike was to the muscle, not the joint. Chuck Norris is too disciplined a kicker to break a man on a public bet, but his leg will not support his full weight for another 20 seconds, and he knows it. Skipper Mullins later said that what he remembered most was not the kick. It was Chuck's face in those 3 seconds. He said Chuck did not look proud. He did not look relieved. He looked sad. He looked like a man who had just had to do something he did not want to do. Then Joe stands up, slowly. He shakes out his right leg. He tests his weight on it. He grimaces, just slightly, then masks it. He walks across the canvas to Chuck. He extends his right hand. They shake. Joe leans in close and says one sentence to Chuck. Quiet. Only the two of them and Mike Anderson hear it. Chuck never repeated that sentence to anyone except his closest students. Decades later, in the quiet moments after a long training session in a back room in Tarzana. Then Joe pats Chuck on the shoulder. He turns. He walks back to the center of the ring. Alan Steen hands him the microphone again. Joe takes it. He looks at the 900 spectators. He is breathing harder than he wants them to know. He smiles, half rueful, half impressed. He looks at the crowd, and he looks back at Chuck, who is still standing barefoot on the canvas with his hands at his sides. He says, "You all saw what you saw." He hands the microphone back. He climbs out of the ring. He walks to the dressing room without looking back. The crowd does not boo. The crowd does not cheer. The crowd makes the strange low murmur that 900 people make when they all realized at the same moment that they were wrong about something, and they will not say it out loud. He does not retire the sidekick. He uses it again the next month, and the month after that, and the year after that. But he never publicly bets on it again. He never calls Chuck Norris out from a stage for the rest of his life. Chuck puts his socks and his shoes back on. He walks up the bleacher steps and sits back down in row 9. He picks up his program. He watches the rest of the card. He does not speak to anyone. He does not sign an autograph. A man 2 seats over tries to start a conversation, and Chuck answers in 3 words and looks back at the ring. When the final bracket is over, he drives to a motel on the north side of Dallas and sleeps for 6 hours. The next morning, before the sun is up, he begins the 1,400-mile drive back to Torrance. He drives it alone. He stops once for gas in Amarillo. He stops once for a sandwich in Albuquerque. He pulls into his driveway in Torrance on the night of the 11th. He does not call anyone. He does not tell his wife where he has been. He goes to the garage and he hits the heavy bag for 20 minutes. Then he goes to bed. What happened to each of the 14 people who knew? Skipper Mullins carried this story for 43 years. He died in 2010. He told it only to his senior students in the back room of his school in Dallas, in the quiet hour after class on the nights when somebody asked who the toughest fighter he ever saw was. He always told it the same way. He always ended it with the same line. He said, "Joe Louis was the greatest fighter I ever saw." And he met the one man on earth who had figured him out, and he had to live with it for the rest of his life. Pat Burleson wrote about it in his unpublished autobiography. The manuscript sits in a cardboard box in a closet at the family home in Fort Worth. 2 paragraphs. He never tried to publish them. He referred to it once in a magazine interview in the late 1980s as the night the sidekick learned how to lose. The interviewer did not understand what he meant. Pat did not explain. Mike Anderson, the referee, mentioned the night only once. In a 1974 interview with Black Belt magazine, he said one sentence about an exhibition demonstration he refereed in Dallas in '67 that he had never been able to explain to himself. The editor took it out before publication. He thought it could not be true. Alan Steen, the promoter, never told the story publicly. He told it once privately to a young instructor in 1984. He swore the man to silence. The man kept his word. The June Rhee scout flew home the next morning and told Master Rhee in person in his office in Washington with the door closed. Master Rhee listened. He nodded. He said nothing. He never repeated it to a soul. Roy Kerbin took it to his grave. He passed in 2014. He never told a reporter, never told a filmmaker, never told a biographer. His own children only learned about the night from a single line in a journal they found after his death. The 8 others scattered through the bleachers. Most of them never spoke publicly. A few told their senior students in private. None of them told reporters. And what Joe Louis did with it. 12 months later, Joe pivoted away from point karate. He helped invent professional kickboxing. In 1970, he won the first full-contact professional kickboxing match in American history. He became the father of modern kickboxing. He retired undefeated as the United States heavyweight kickboxing champion in 1971. In 1983, the readers of a national magazine voted him the greatest karate fighter of all time. Chuck Norris and Bill Wallace tied for second. In every interview Joe ever gave between 1967 and his death in 2012, when asked about his rivalry with Chuck Norris, he gave the same answer. He said, "He is a great fighter. We are friends, that is all." He never told the Dallas story publicly. Not once. Not in his books. Not on the podcasts he did in the last years of his life. Not in the documentaries that filmed him in his living room in North Carolina. He carried it with him for 45 years, and he let it go to the grave with him. And what Chuck Norris did with it, he never mentioned it in any of his autobiographies. He never told it on television. He never gave it as an interview, an anecdote on a late-night couch. When a reporter once asked him in 1994 about a rumor of a private exchange with Joe Louis in Dallas in the late 60s, Chuck smiled and said Joe was the greatest. Then he changed the subject. When asked late in his life by a longtime student why he never publicly told the story, he said, "Because Joe Louis was a great champion, and a great champion's loss is not anyone else's story to tell." The world remembers Joe Louis as the father of modern kickboxing. The world remembers Chuck Norris as a movie star. The world does not remember the night in Dallas in December of 1967 when one of them publicly bet 30 seconds on a kick that could not be blocked, and the other one blocked it in 4. That is who Chuck Norris was. Thank you for watching. Make sure you are subscribed to catch the next Chuck Norris story because it will blow your mind.